we have already discussed about community organization and community development, right? So we will be discussing today on some of the model and also about community approaches, community organization approaches through which say an NGO can intervene and also achieve their development. So these will be basically about those approaches, how an NGO will implement developmental plan and program. So when we talk about those approaches, basically there are three approaches. There are also multiple number of approaches, but here we will be focusing upon only three approaches. Huh. About which I have already mentioned in one class. First one is the locality development model. This is a model. You might also say this is an approach by an NGO to intervene in a community. So for community development, for community empowerment, for even delivering of services, there has to have some approach, in a sense, some framework through which we will intervene. So here are those frameworks through which an NGO will intervene. First, they will study the community, right? They will study the community, they will identify the problem, they will identify the issues, okay? And then they will try to find out how they can take the best from their intervention. And based on that, they will decide which kind of intervention will be much more suitable for one community. So you see that while studying the community, they also need to look into the social resources I have told you, and that could be achieved through PRA. So PRA is important here, participatory rural uprising, because it is through which an NGO representative could identify the existing social resources, existing community resources, the history of the community, and also about the problem dynamics. To understand the problem dynamics, you need to know about the power dynamics of that community. Power dynamics, the relationship between the genders, the role of the genders, okay, the relationship between the senior and a junior, the young and a old, okay, relationship between different caste groups, between different religions, among different religions, among different ethnicities, if this community is quite heterogeneous, inhabiting people from different religions, different ethnicities. So the relationship, intergroup relationship or relationship between the groups is also supposed to be known by that NGO, and NGO will intervene accordingly. Now in the very first model, we talk about the locality development model. Locality development model. This is the very first model, where the problem is because of the enemy, people could not participate. Enemy kind of situation, people could not participate. They are very apathetic to participate. It's not that they do not have skill also. They do have skills, they are literate enough, but they are not motivated to participate. So problem lies in lack of people's participation and lack of a democratic outcome among the people. So in many communities, we get to see that there are resources, and there is also stable power dynamics exist, but you see there is not that much development as required. So we haven't seen that much development as required in that community, and that has happened because of lack of community participation. So when there are resources, but still there is lack of development, still there is lack of participation, then we can use locality development model as an intervening approach to the community in order to bring the community promptness or active. So here the role of NGO will be to provide skill development and also training of the community. Basically, they focus on skill training because they are already skilled, but to reinforce those skills is very very important. So they will be reinforcing those particular skills, and you will also develop capabilities. They'll make them aware about some of the prejudices which are existed, which they know, but the thing is that they are not motivated to act upon. So in that case, awareness will be quite helpful. And while carrying out an awareness campaign, they will also make the people of the community involved. Okay, so they themselves will try to identify the problem. So making them identify the problem is a very important goal of this locality development model, because the thing is that more in this community, people do not know their need. So just because they could not identify their need, they become very vulnerable. So it's important for a community to identify their needs. And many a time they could identify the need, the community could identify its needs and also priorities, but due to lack of resources, they could not able to have a very accomplished life. So in that case, things will be different, and there will be a different intervention model need to be in place. But here, in terms of locality development model, we get to see that communities lack participation, communities lack awareness and lack motivation, and there is a sheer apathy in the community. So they do not know how to utilize the existing resources, social resources. And even history also says that okay, there's good amount of cultivations, vedi cultivation or pulses cultivation from the community. Okay, but there is a transition period might have come, because of which they could not achieve, they could not get the return by selling those vedi or selling those that community resources, whatever being cultivated or whatever being grown from the community. So you can also study the history of the product and the social resources, and how they have utilized those resources. So based on that, you can develop a plan. So plan should also be developed by involving the people themselves. So in locality development model, the basic certain principle of self-help is very, very important. So basically, by forming the self-help group, they try to develop the capacity, and your representative will try to develop the capacities of the people. So self-help group, forming self-help group is one principle. Second is democratic leadership. So they will also form some leaders. Instead of NGO emerges as a leader, one NGO emerges as a leader in the whole situation, they will try to create a leader among the community who could take a lead and also help to mobilize the community for taking some substantive stuff. So it is all about task taking and also give a lead and make people participate. Then also arrive to consensus. Arriving at the consensus is very, very important. So we see that there are different groups in a society, in a community also, community is formed of different groups, and it might be homogeneous by nature. But the thing is that community development model to be executed and implemented where there is place of conflict in the community. You need to see that there are misunderstandings, there are disagreements, there are also prejudices and biases stereotypes against one community by another, meaning by another, about one community, meaning by another. That is very typical. Now, the thing is that arriving at a consensus is very important, and it will be easier when there are minor disagreements. But when there is a major conflict between the groups, then also if you are implementing this model, you are trying not to accentuate the conflict, unlike other model. You are supposed to make them arrive at a consensus, and that too through self-help group to mobilize the communities to participation. So, arriving at the consensus is a very basic usage principle of locality development model. So, here you see that the locality development model is also equivalent to social work. Social work, we usually see there is a difference between social work and community development. Okay, so in community development, you see there is some terminological similarities in community development. We get to see that there are people from different backgrounds who can also perform the role in development. They will participate, they will bring in development, they will strengthen the process of development. And they might be people from different communities, different backgrounds. They might be biologists, right? They might be, apart from sociologists, being a sociologist, they might be Also, a doctor might be a journalist. Okay, so people in different roles can involve in community development, not necessarily that they need to have a degree. But here in social work, people are supposed to have a degree. So people who are working for locality development and NGO which are working and specialized in locality development are actually have a trained uh, expertise on social work. You have a degree, any kind of degree which is equivalent to social work, so that they could intervene. So this model actually came into existence in 1960s. In US during that effort of alleviating the poverty, that is called the War on Poverty Alleviation. Yeah. So during 1960s, that social work method came in US. No, in poverty elimination, in elevating the poverty as well as in terms of bringing societal changes. So that was executed in the very development. Later on, what we get to see that after locality development, we have another model that is called social planning, which is equivalent to community development. So we have social planning model. This is the first one, and this one is the second. We have that social planning model. Social planning model of intervention. Okay, the second method of intervention will be social planning. So here the role of the activist or the representative will be to to provide some technical assistance to the community, not as a kind of encourager, not as a kind of enabler. Okay. So in the very first model we get to see the role of the NGO representative will be the enabler one. Basically enable the community and encourage the community, facilitate the community to participate. So role of the NGO representative or the NGO itself is the facilitator. The role of the NGO is the enabler. In the very first one, role of the NGO is the encourager. Huh. And also perform as a teacher kind of role. Instructor, teacher, they'll teach the community, they'll instruct the community how to perform, what to perform. They will also encourage the community to participate, to motivate. They'll also facilitate the community, see that okay, some skills are there, but lack of motivation, lack of empathy, lack of guidance, they do not know how to channelize the resources, how to channelize the skill. So they will also facilitate to channelize the skill. So that happens in locality development model. But the same is not going with the social planning model. Here in social planning, you see the activist role. Activists role is sort of misnomer. There is no activist role. So your NGO representative will be providing a technical role. They will basically gather the fact of that community. So study themselves. They can also execute other method. They can execute interview method, execute focus group discussion, or have a face-to-face talk with the community leader. Okay, and they try to identify the problem, and that too based on the facts. So the role of the community, the community leader or the NGO representative will be to find the fact and analyze the problem. Find the facts and analyze the problem will be the basic role, and then on the basis of that, they will develop some judgment. They will develop rapport with other societal organizations, social organizations, with government, with other stakeholders, with private sectors, and try to bring in the services which are being required by the community. So this model will be different from the very first one because societal social planning model will focus upon community development instead of the social work method. So we are discussing about community intervention method, some of the method by which an NGO can intervene in a community to bring in change, to bring in development. So first model is the locality development model, in which you can also bring in change as an NGO representative. Your role will be a kind of facilitator, a teacher, encourager, enabler in this model. In the second model, social planning model, your role will be a bit technical. So you will research, you will carry out research, you can have some secondary data, you also be a wonderful, thorough secondary survey, as well as you go to the community, talk to person, and you find some facts, and based on the facts, you will also try to bring in some services. Based on the facts, not based on simply the collecting facts, but you need to analyze the facts and then you try to bring in the services which is required by the community. So you are not going to make the community involved in terms of understanding themselves, knowing themselves, mobilizing themselves, which was seen in locality development. So you get to see some of the principles in locality development like self-help group formation. So community representative or NGO representative will try to form a group within the community so that people could mobilize themselves, which was not the case earlier because of their apathetic regions, because of the anomaly conditions. They were not motivated to mobilize, they would mobilize themselves, and there will be democratic leadership through which they could also direct the community because that direction was not there. Resources were there, social resources were there. There were rivers, there were paddy fields, there were good roads, good infrastructures. Even you see schools were there, health centers were there. So all social infrastructures were available at place. But the thing is that the community did not get the guidance and the direction how to utilize the resources. And also there is a lack of motivation among the community, even if there are schools and few of them are literate. But just because they did not get an employment opportunity within that community or nearby community, so they are to be migrated. They're supposed to be migrated to another village or urban areas, because of which, see, they somehow lost their hope and that enthusiasm and motivation to work on. And hence, you need to identify the problem, you need to intervene to bring in the motivations, and through even mobilizing community through awareness campaign and make them participate. Make them participate and also understand their felt need is very, very important because they don't identify their need. So make them understand their felt need, identify the needs and priorities and help them to achieve the self-help and democratic transformation. So minimal conflicts are there in each and every community. So here in locality development model, where you can actually get to see in order to execute it, you will find that there is a chance of bringing them into consensus. So society is not that divisive, not divided society, not fragmented society, that there are frequent classes among the people and all. So in that case also you can actually execute it, but to plan it out how to bring that consensus. But if you try to execute social planning model in a divisive society, very divisive society, undivided, fragmented society, then you can limit yourself to provide only the services. Suppose you can simply give them, you say, you can establish a hospital for them. You can only establish a hospital for them. You can establish only a school for them. Or you can also provide some of the building material they require in terms of need when there is academic and all. So you focus on only one resources. So there is a problem of literacy, problem of housing, problem of sanitation are there. So this came out from fact finding, from the research. So you are not supposed to intervene to the community by mobilizing them, making them participate. So you will develop rapport with outside the organization. So you will have a network with outside the organization with the help of which you can bring in the resources. So you can have a network with the government, you can have relation with the government, with other stakeholders, private sectors, other NGOs, and other companies, corporations, or you can be a part of this charity program, corporate social responsibility, and also try to bring the benefit to the community. But to make sure that the benefit is not equivalent to public benefit. So there is a difference between public service and public benefit. You know? When you talk about the public benefit is basically meant for the community, but the motto of the organization which is bringing to benefiting the community or which is going to benefit the community is is profit. Like Delhi Public School. Delhi Public School. So we talk about public. The word public is there. So but they are not providing any kind of public service. Okay. So because their motto is also to share the profit among them. So public benefit is different from public service. A public service, any organization engaged in public service should be tax free because their motto is to serve the community only, to provide the service to the community. So here we see that social planning model will not work in public benefit model or public benefit. It will not embrace that public benefit into its approach. It will be basically talking about like making the services available to the community, let them do what they do. So our job is not to make them participate, develop them, empower them, create self-help group, or also some democratic leadership, village level leadership. No. So we will not involve in community mobilization. We will simply provide them the services. So this is what is equivalent to community development, and social work is equivalent to locality development. But social planning is equivalent to community development. So here we see that if we look into the timeline, in social work there is no definite timeline. Because we were talking about the locality development, not necessarily that a locality will be developed at one particular point of time. So it is a process-based approach. So you will also think about achieving some change based on piecemeal approach, like piecemeal kind of change, piecemeal basis. Sorry, piecemeal basis you can bring in some change. Okay, but here in community development there is a definite timeline that within these 5 years the school has to be established. Within these 2 years, the services has to be delivered. Some of the handloom and all, whatever services are there, some distribution you see, whatever like some handicrafts and any kind of sorry, some textile and all, sorry, is to be distributed and some looms are to be distributed. Within 2 years, these services are to be distributed to the community. But you will not intervene into how to utilize it. So that is because there is a timeline. So we will follow the timeline. So role of a community representative or your NGO representative will be very technical now. Okay. So then the community itself is the consumer now. So how the community, how will you perceive the community here? In locality development model, the community, how will you perceive the community? Community is not a victim here. Huh. Community is not a consumer here. But a community is like a community of students who requires training, who requires skill. They have lack of motivation, who requires that push to bring them out, bring the best out of them. So here in social planning, community is the consumer of the services. So the client perception of the community is consumer. And in there is another model that is called social action. Social action is revolutionary model. So is no which you can bring in social sense, social action, where you can actually think about community who is the victim of inequitous power relation. So power relation is inequitous sense. Few people of that community is taking advantage of the schemes or they are wielding the power, but making the other section of the community disadvantageous. In each and every community, you get to see that kind of power that is inequality or inequitous situation. And in certain communities, it is more. So I'm talking about in certain communities where there is a gap between the rich poor and we have a division between the rich poor, and that division is quite strict division. So rich are getting rich, poor are getting poorer. Okay, so we could get to see that kind of division, and because of the societal resources which are there, social resources are also not utilizing properly to distribute the equitas benefit among the members of the community. So there are societal resources, but these are not distributed evenly. Okay, so there are groups have vested interest in that community, and they do have some, to say that uh, network with government and power holders. So they pull out all the benefits of the schemes, all the benefits of development programs and strategies which are to be implemented for the community. But the uh, common people of the community or even other section of the community won't get the same benefit, or they are not that abreast of the schemes or the strategies or various developmental programs which government have brought in. So they are informed like on surface level. So for years it happens, it will also lead to a conflicting situation. For years it will happen. So social conflict model, social action model will try to uh, look community as a victim and also try to empower the community. Here, empowerment is possible through participation. For lowering social action, empowerment is also possible through mobilization, participation, but the orientation of the group is conflict, not to arrive at a consensus. They try to change the system. They try to change the status quo. Okay, the group, the NGO itself, will try to change the status quo at a village level. Change, there is a shifting the power, that there is a role of shifting power dynamics in the village level itself. If there are some conflict arise in the village level, you see, and which cannot be reconcilable. So any kind of conflict which cannot be reconcilable, conflicts are there in each and every society, as I have told you, in each and every communities and heterogeneous group, there will be conflict. But you need to find out whether it could be reconcilable or not. If it is not reconcilable, then you can go for social action model. It happens when, in terms of using town development and all. So if you people of the community, and that too maybe minority section of the community will get benefit. Even the sarpanch and all the leaders of the village, basically who have tie up in government, will get some of the lucrative benefits. But the majority of the people will not get the benefit. And in terms of down development and all, you see, this development is not considered as a community development, wealth development, and also you see development project, a good development strategy, because it will lead to, you see, environmental problem and also abuse of resources. There are problem of that inequitous development. So NGO will not consider development of down is a strategy of development or a program of development. And hence, there is always a chaos or is a clash between government and NGO. There is always a clash between government and NGO regarding the development strategy and developmental program. So here we also have a client patron relationship that we'll discuss later, because we need to discuss about government and NGOs relationship, which I'm not going to deal with today. But there are different ways, different framework to look at the government and NGOs relationship, which you will understand the kind of pressure that NGOs feel from the government, NGO facing from the government, and also the pressure from government agencies, which they are used to get, and also the pressure of the international community, which has, in a way, you say that propel the government to work in tandem with NGOs. So that is also another aspect to understand the government and NGO relations. So here in social action, basically you see NGO will work in shifting the power dynamics to bring in equitous relationship, equal relationship among the groups. Okay, so so they will also rebel against the existing power structure. They'll create a movement. They'll mobilize. They'll create a movement. Make them educate about the inequitous relationship. Why it has happened? Because many a time people don't able to understand their needs and their conditions. Why it has happened, and the mind is highly prejudiced. So this might has happened because of this might has happened because of this. There are lot many like other auxiliary things might come to their mind, but they could not able to identify who has done this, why it has happened. So NGO's role is to make them educate about the actual situation, actual power dynamics, and also make them train, mobilize, and take action to change the uh, that power in us and role in the society. So social action is very different. Here if you look into the role of public interest. So here in industry model, what we get to find is that goal of the three models are different. Right? Goal of the locality development is to build self-help, problem solving of the community by itself. So it is about community involvement to solve the community problem. Goal of the social planning is to solve the problem with the help of service delivery. And goal of the social action is to help the community to shift the power dynamics. So your goal will be different. And public interest of each of this model will also be different. We see this in terms of the interest of this is called public interest, the way um, we understand the problem and try to systematize it. So we see here the locality development model. We get to find the rationalist unitary approach. That is also another approach to understand the problem. Rationalist unitary approach, we see that we will have some regions, region of non-participation, region of not working, region of not understanding their needs. So try to find out the region. So focus on that rational outcome. So develop that rationality among the people. So it's very important. So remove the prejudices and also biases, superstitious feeling or whatever that occult sciences a community might hold, and you remove it through awareness campaign and work on developing the region. And hence, we talk about the public interest. We also try to look into public interest from rationalist unitary model. Rationalist unitary model develop vision among the community and let them discuss, let them deliver their own problem and solve their own problem. And here in social planning model, we and this is an idealist kind of situation is that people are incapable of solving problems and even all the problem cannot be solved, but it is our moral duty to extend help to the society, and hence we can take help of expert judgment and also expert decisions. We can collaborate with the expert, we can collaborate with other network in the society to bring their intervention to the community. So this is a kind of ideal situation. So they consume the services which we are giving them and in their way. Okay, so we are simply planning for it, but we are not going to make the community implement it. We will plan, we will implement, then we will simply uh, 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 take our grip or hold of it. Okay, so so that is the social planning. It is there in terms of service delivery. And most of the NGOs, you look at most independents and will be independents are into service delivery. And even you see later on also NGOs are looked into basically from service delivery angle, because this is based on consensus at times, and also you don't have to go against the government. So you can be pro-government, you can get all the benefit of the schemes of the government, you can get fund from the government. But the thing is that you uh, uh, need to get the pressure. You know how to get the pressure from the government and work with that pressure, because government will also stimulate action in one particular direction, make you work in one direction. So you will not have that flexibility to work in your way in social planning. But you plan out to bring the best particularly in social planning model. And in social action, in the social action model, what we do is that this is basically realist unitary, realist in the sense realism of society, that society is uh, combined, society is made of or combined of this the conflicting interest, group of conflicting interests. Society is made of group of conflicting interests. So you simply hold that point of view and try to execute it. If there are like group of conflicting interests, so you also need to make people realize about why it has happened, and then try to bring change into that situation. And because of social actions, we also get to see social action right from the independence time. You see, there are role of direct action. So method and techniques are there. Direct action are there, movement, and it's hartal, picketing. So these are the methods which are used in in movement and all. So part of social action method. Within that, now Davasa Anduran is an example of social action model where NGO involving uh, social action bringing change into society. So understand the community. Community is the victim and empower the community, and also seek the power dynamics and make them the beneficiary. So this is the social action model. So these are the three models basically. So here each model you have a goal. Then how you execute change technique is also there. How you execute the change, and how do you envision the community. That is also important. And the public interest is the public interest involved in history model, and role of the NGOs and NGO representatives.